Welcome back to my channel, previously known as Jack Outside the Box, now Authentically ADHD, my overall business name. It has been a minute. I missed you, but I've got an amazing video for you today. We are going to be talking all about how to thrive with ADHD, my credentials. One, I am an ADHDer myself, and I like to think that I'm thriving. That doesn't mean that it's perfect all the time, which I will get into soon and sort of debunk some myths around that. Run a successful business, I keep up with my hobbies for the most part, and I feel overall really happy in a fulfilled relationship, so on and so forth. So I am going to share, why am I doing this? Like, why am I sitting so weird? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to share all of my best tips for how I've done that for myself. I'm also a trained ADHD coach, so I will share how I also help my clients really design a life that works for their brains. So without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so number one, and I know you're gonna hate me for this, I'm so sorry, is to accept that you're not always going to be thriving every day, every minute of every day, every week. This is true, one, because you're a human being, and two, because you're a human being with ADHD, which means you got the highs, you got the lows. Consistency is usually not our forte. So if you have this expectation of yourself to be thriving all the time, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you are all the time going to be disappointed and feeling a lot of shame and feeling really let down. It is really important to navigate that shame, to be really kind and compassionate to ourselves and to accept our capacity and to accept that that's going to be variable. Some days we're gonna have really high energy, really high kind of brain clarity, motivation, capacity, so on and so forth, creativity, and other days we are just not. That is just kind of what being ADHD is, and part of thriving is knowing that that is a big picture overall thing, and it doesn't mean that every single second of every day that you are going to be thriving. You are not. And that's okay, and that's the whole point. So allow that to be okay and allow yourself to ebb and flow and to have that variable interest, capacity, and so on and so forth. Number two is to support your brain and body to the extent that is in your control. Again, that doesn't mean perfectly, and I want to be really careful here because I know people with ADHD tend to be extreme like myself and can kind of head in the direction of getting really disordered with rigidness around stuff with body and food and things like that. So let's just kind of tread lightly here and know this is going to look differently for everyone. But there are some things that I think for the most part across the board are really supportive if they can be implemented in a non-perfect way. First is sleep. I know, so basic. I have a little bit more exciting things coming down the line, but we have to cover the basics. If I do not sleep, for me, 8 hours per night, I am a literal monster the next day. So irritable, not focused, super brain fog, and it's just awful. Everyone's amount of sleep varies, but figure out what that number is for you and work really hard to make that happen. Again, it's okay if it doesn't always happen. It's okay if you're struggling with that right now. It's just something to be aware of and to work on. I don't think that I can talk about supporting the brain and body without talking about food, though again, I think so many of us can get really disordered with this, myself included. So I want to be really careful here and not give too much specific advice, but I will say I do notice what I eat impacts how I feel. I think that just makes sense, right? And so I don't want people getting super rigid here, but really just exploring what feels good for your body. Oftentimes for folks with ADHD, though everyone is super different, kind of a higher protein can be really helpful. And I would say most importantly is just making sure that you're eating regularly, because we tend to have really strong reactions to changes in blood sugar. So we can get really, really brain foggy. We can be really, really tired and really struggle in those moments and have such a harder time focusing. So if you can try to just make sure you're eating regularly, which I know is really hard with ADHD, mentally. It's a lot of planning and executing, and it's a lot, but remembering that any food is better than no food. And I find that giving myself permission to lean a little bit more into convenience and accommodation. So like rather than making oatmeal, I might use an oatmeal cup, and cutting myself some slack, both mentally and in my budget for that. Again, another annoying one is movement. I truly think for myself, movement is like the number one thing that helps me with ADHD. It helps me feel more energized, more motivated, more concentrated, clear-headed, less brain fog, just kind of more like excited for life, and that has made such a big difference for me. Of course, I know that's not accessible for everyone, but I think finding movement that feels doable, accessible, and also exciting. So for me, that's mostly dance. If you can find ways to have accountability with that, maybe you go with an accountability partner, or you find a class, or you do something for home over video, whatever works for you, but movement is absolutely so incredibly helpful for ADHD. So if there's any way of implementing that, it can really be a game changer. And then there are also a ton of different medication options and supplements and things like that. So many people take stimulants or different SSRIs or different things to support their ADHD. I have been on Ritalin in the past. It helped me a lot in those time periods. I am currently not medicated for a few different reasons. It was like flaring up OCD stuff, and also with my chronic health issues, it also just, the pros were not weighing, what am I trying to say? What I was trying to say is the cons started outweighing the pros, and so I'm no longer on medication, but I'm super supportive of anyone that is. Since I am not on medication, I do take a lot of different supplements and things like that that are really helpful. There are a lot of different supplements that have been shown to be supportive for ADHD. I am not a medical doctor. None of this is medical advice. Please check with your doctor before taking any of these. Please do your own research. I'm not even on all of these, but I thought I would just mention them so you can be responsible and take them, and then go search and talk to whoever you need to. But some of the supplements that can be really supportive are L-theanine, vitamin D, omega-3s, certain B vitamins, and magnesium, among others. You can research all of this. My favorite supplement and my favorite thing that I take every day that has been a absolute game changer for me, that honestly, they reached out to me maybe like a year ago, and they were like, hey, we have this product, and it's like this little productivity shot. I think it'd be really good for ADHD, and we want to send it to you for free. And I was like, I highly doubt this works, but it looked kind of interesting, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And it is almost a year later, and I have taken it every single day since. The product is called Magic Mind. I actually had it here from when I had it earlier. I do drink it with a straw just because of my braces, but it's a cute little shot, and it has made more of a difference than any supplement ever. I feel like it helps me a lot with memory, which is super interesting. Like, it really helps me with dance choreography. It helps me, I would say, most with brain fog. Like, it just kind of clears that brain fog out a little bit. And I find that oftentimes when I'm in like in a really big flow, like mainly when I'm like creating content, I'm like, wow, I just got so much done. And I'm like, oh yeah, you just drank Magic Minds like an hour ago. So it kind of like activates you into this kind of like, I wanted to say flow state, but I feel like that's such an obnoxious thing to say. But like, that's kind of what it feels like. Like, it just kind of puts you in the zone, and yeah, just kind of creates that mental clarity for me, at least personally. I've recommended it to a ton of friends and clients, and everyone that's tried it, for the most part, I think maybe, I would say like 98% of people who have tried it are like rebuying it and loving it. So I could not recommend it anymore. Immunity boosting supplements like vitamin D, E, and echinacea. It's honestly like an ADHD powerhouse. I've got so many more things, as you can see. I'm gonna stop trying to be a cool YouTuber that's like, look at my things, and also let me show you my disgusting nails because I'm a dirtbag, and rather I'm just gonna post some stuff up here that you can see and check it out for yourself. No wonder I said flow state. Their marketing rubbed off on me. I do have a code. My cat has decided to enter the chat. Anyway, I do have a code for you. Before I give it to you, I just want a little disclaimer, which is like if you are on ADHD meds, or especially if you are on an SSRI, please talk to your doctor first. I think that it doesn't go well with SSRIs. I know some people who do it alongside stimulants. There's a small amount of caffeine in it from the matcha, so you do really want to check with your doctor to make sure that's okay. So with that disclaimer out of the way, I do have a code for you if you want to use it. I forgot it. Let me go find it for you. It is actually absurd that I forgot it because it is literally my name, Jack, J-A-K, all capitals. My full name is Jacqueline, but yeah. So you can use my code Jack for 20% off your first order. Well, let's get into number 3. Okay, so this one is probably my favorite, which is to really work on building and unlearning and recalibrating your internal values, beliefs, and expectations of yourself. This is so important because so many of us were raised in a culture that all of the rules and expectations and values are baked in neuronormativity, which is not how we work or function. So if you're like, well, what the hell is neuronormativity? I'm going to give you a definition from one of my friends, Sunny, the lived experience educator, and they define neuronormativity as such: a system of beliefs that reinforce a set of standards, expectations, norms, and ideals that center a particular way of functioning as the right way to function. So, if we think of things like it is like the right way to function to kind of be more consistent in your energy, or to not procrastinate, to view time and be able to conceptualize and interact with time a certain way. I mean, this is a whole separate video, so I'm not going to deep dive into this. If you want me to dive into it more, I'd be happy to. In the meantime, definitely check out Sunny at Lived Experience Educator. They make amazing content about this stuff. But the point is, when we're brought up with all of these different rules and expectations that are not aligned with the way that we function, it creates like a constant sense of shame and a constant sense of failing and not meeting these expectations that are not meant for us. And it creates so many shoulds and just this horrible spiral. And it's really important for us to unlearn these and really define our own values, our own beliefs, and our own needs. Let me just be clear that this is no easy task, and it is also not all on the individual that should have to be doing all of this work. We clearly need systemic change, and that is something so important. I mean, there's so many bigger topics that need to be tackled, like ableism, capitalism, and all of these different things that create these systems that don't allow for a neurodiversity paradigm that says there's one way of being, of functioning, of existing in this world, and if you're not that, then sucks for you. So these systems, let me just be clear, are really what need to change. And while that's happening, we can really work on unlearning as much of that for ourselves as possible. Some stuff you can start thinking about, some questions that you can start answering for yourself are things like, what are my values? I'll post all of these in the description box so you have these questions. If you're feeling stuck, you can look up a list of values, and then you can kind of go through those values and ask, like, where did that come from? Are these mine? Do I want to keep these? And just start realizing that you can really make those decisions for yourself. Number 2 is you can sort of write a list of beliefs that feel really shitty and disempowering for yourselves. Like, in order to be successful, I must be consistent, or I'm not going to be able to do this thing because I struggle with follow through. And just start going through those and sort of questioning them. I'm not asking you to like change them into like a positive affirmation, but rather to just explore if there's any space there. We tend to be really rigid, all or nothing, and to Maybe ask, are there any examples of people who are not consistent and are still successful? Have there been times when that's been true for me? Is there any way to kind of unlearn this? What I will say is that these things are really hard to do on our own. So I would really, really encourage you to do this with someone, whether that's a friend, a peer, a therapist, a coach, a community, because it's really hard to like do this in a silo and unlearn all of this for ourselves. And we often need that affirmation of like, yeah, that's okay. And yeah, this is possible. So I do have some options available if you want some extra support with this process. I have both a group coaching program starting in October that is literally about how to design a life that works for your brain. So we will be going through all of this. If you're interested in that, you can feel free to email me at authenticallyadhd.com. And then I also have an ongoing Authentically ADHD community. That's a membership space. You can join and leave anytime, and we have these discussions all of the time. So I'll drop that link below as well. No pressure at all. I'm giving you these prompts so you can try to get what you can done, but if you feel like you need extra support, those tools are available to you. Just feel free to email me and I can point you in the right direction, or comment and I can chat with you there as well. Number 3 on this list of like really going through our values and figuring these things out are identifying our strengths. So people with ADHD tend to really overlook our strengths and really focus on the things that we are not so great at. So it's really important to get clear on our strengths so we can design our lives around those. So hopefully have a life that really feeds into those strengths so it feels naturally easier for you. I will drop a strength quiz thing in the description box if you want to check that out. But another cool way is to just ask friends and family what they think you're good at. ADHDers have so many strengths. We tend to be really creative, have a lot of ingenuity, a ton of ideas, outside the box thinkers. I could go on and on, but again, maybe a topic for another video. And a last thing that you can kind of journal on or sit with or talk about is what circumstances, support, and accommodations do you need to be able to function at your best? Not just function, but also feel your best. So that might look like being friends with people who are supportive. It may look like work accommodations. It might look like I really do best when I wake up at 9 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. It may look like I need to have a 15-minute break between things, or I need processing time. There's a ton of different things that could be supportive. Start by seeing if any of those things are figure-outable, and if so, that's a really good way to say like, hey, I'm actually not gonna change because I'm not broken. There may be certain things that I want to work on, but I'm actually just gonna work on my surrounding support and circumstances and see if anything can adapt more to me because you're not broken. And that can be super helpful. Of course, some circumstances can't be changed. There's definitely privilege in this that makes this a little bit more complicated, but where things can be changed, that is always where I try to focus. So yeah, those are just some prompts to kind of get you started. And again, if you need more support navigating any of those, just let me know and I'll see if there's anything that I offer or anyone that I know that offers that can help you. Next is finding systems that work for you and also allowing for that to be fluid. So I hear people with ADHD, myself included, all the time be like, this planner worked for me for so long and then I forgot it existed, and what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. We like novelty, we like newness, we like changes in things. These systems are gonna kind of go in and out. Again, lay off the consistency, cut yourself some slack, and just allow systems to work when they work and not work when they don't, and to switch them up and change them up to make them more exciting, add new colors, whatever you need. So some things that I use are Notion. I use that for planning mostly. So I have everything on Notion. It's basically like this online notebook, I guess. I don't know, where you can like organize everything. I have like my entire life in there. So it's so nice having everything in one place. I've got all my important documents and everything like that. And then I also do planning in there. So I have like a monthly list of all my tasks and goals, and then a weekly list of all my tasks and goals, and then that all gets checked in on and migrated. Part of the reason I'm able to keep up with that is because in my Authentically ADHD community, we do a monthly and a weekly reset together. So that keeps me like really on track with that, which is so helpful. I use Google Calendar. I live by my Google Calendar, so it's something that I check super regularly. So those two systems really help me with time and task management and just kind of like general organization. And then for financial management, which I am so obsessed with recently. I used to hate finances and now I am so hyper fixated on it. So if you want me to make a video about it, please ask so I can feel excited to do it. But I do financial kind of management and organization in a system called YNAB. You need a budget. I think I have like a free month for that. I'll drop that in the description, though I will just warn you, it is a bit of a learning curve. So if this stuff really overwhelms you, I would also encourage getting support on that. I needed a lot of hand-holding to get started with that, but if you're feeling excited and you want to check it out, totally go for it. So yeah, those are the things that really help me with time, task, financial management for the most part. I am not telling you to replicate what I do. We are all different. I work with clients who have like huge whiteboards where they track everything, do stuff pen to paper. There's no right or wrong, but I would recommend that for most people, having some systems in place can really externalize all of that stuff happening in our brain, get it on paper, which really helps a lot with organization and stress management, because it's really stressful when it's all just flying around in that little big brain of yours. Finally, the last thing that I want to mention, which I did kind of sprinkle throughout because it has been so critical in my own ADHD journey, is to really work on reducing shame, mostly through support and community. Shame thrives in secrecy. Folks with ADHD carry so much shame, and if you do, I'm just sending you so much love because I know it's a heavy burden to carry. But if you're with people who get it, if you're surrounded by other ADHDers who understand and help you feel validated, where you can find humor in these things and just see all of the amazing people that you're in such good company with who also struggle in the same ways that you do, but are also like amazing human beings, it really helps you reflect that back to yourself. So I cannot recommend like having community more. I would say out of all of these things, that is one of the most important. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You could look and see if there's any local ADHD groups. I run Authentically ADHD community membership, which I'll link in the description box, and you can let me know if you have any questions about that. Of course, like I'm partial to that one because it's mine and I love it and it's a really special place. So I think that's a wrap for today. I feel like each of these points could have been their own YouTube video, so if you want me to elaborate on any of them, don't expect it in a timely fashion because not doing so great at that these days, but I will do my best to get to it. I also post a ton on my Instagram, which I'll post here, so you can feel free to check that out, and I'll post all my other stuff in the description box if you want to connect elsewhere. Thank you so much for hanging out, and just remember these are all tools to support you, not because you're broken or you need improving upon, just things that can help you feel better. And please remember that thriving does not mean feeling amazing every day, crushing things every day. It just means that you are overall trending in the direction of taking care of yourself, supporting yourself, and doing the things that matter for you. So please take off that pressure and just do your best and know that your best is enough. And if you need extra support, I've got you. I am sending you so much love, and now I'm gonna listen to my own advice and go eat before my blood sugar like totally dips and crashes. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for being here. Talk to you soon.